Alright guys, November the 16th through the 20th. Couple things I need to talk to you about before we get into the lesson. I have to start taking daily attendance, whether you are in class or virtual. If you are in class, I take your attendance, not a big deal. But if you are virtual, this really applies to you. You need to make sure that you are marking attendance. Okay, so there's a couple ways that this can be done. If you have access to Infinite Campus, you can go in every single day and you can mark participate. Okay, and that will mark your attendance for the day in my class. You need to do that for each one of your classes. Now, if you mark participate and you do not turn in your work, so come the next week when I get work in for that week, if I don't have your work, I will go back and change that. And I will mark that you did not participate. Here's what's going to happen. If your attendance is not taken, you will be listed as an unexcused absence. Okay? So if you have access to Infinite Campus, you need to be doing that daily. But you also have to make sure you're turning in your work, because if you're not turning in your work, it will go back and be changed that you did not participate. If you do not have access to Infinite Campus, then you need to contact me in some way, shape, form, and let me know that you are working. I will go in, I will mark your attendance. Once again, if I take up work or I get work and your work is not there, you will be marked unexcused absence. It's not just a 0 anymore, guys. This will be used for truancy. This week, I'm going ahead and I'm going to mark everybody present, because I realize that you don't know this just yet. Alright, but you need to make sure that every day you are checking in somehow, whether it is going in and marking your attendance or letting me know that you're here and you want your attendance marked. There's a little box, you check it, it's really simple. The other thing, on your work, you must be showing me all work. If you are just writing down answers, I am not going to take it. If you are not showing me every step that you need to solve those problems, then don't even bother turning it in. Go ahead and take the unexcused absence and the 0. Because it's going to be handed back to you and it's going to be expected to be done correctly. Guys, at this point in time, I need you to be showing me your work. That way I can go back and I can say, this is where you messed up. This is where we need to look at it. This is what I need to be helping you with. With that being said, today's lesson is somewhat short. It does deal with modeling polynomials. It does deal with the graphing calculators a little bit. Remember, you can go on Desmos.com and you can do the exact same thing that we do with these graphing calculators. We've dealt with Desmos a little bit. We played with it a little bit last year. So this might be something you want to be checking out. Alright? If you don't have a graphing calculator at home, Desmos.com is free. Alright, so normally this assignment would be a group activity. If you were in class, we would be working on this together. As a group, I would be putting you in groups. I would be giving you a piece of paper, an 11 by 8 piece of paper. And the assignment would be that each group has the exact same piece of paper, same size, and you are to cut out congruent squares from each corner and then fold the sides in order to create an open-topped box. Our goal is to create a box with the maximum possible volume. Alright, so our goal is to create a box with the maximum volume. So what I did gave you some values. And we'll kind of look at this and talk about this. They're not exactly, probably not exactly the right values that we need to be using, but we're just going to use these. So take a moment, pause the video, and copy this down into your chart. All right? So how do we find volume? We find volume by doing length times width times height. All right? So let's go ahead and find that volume. So I've got 5 times 4 is 20, times 2 is 40. 6 times 3 times 4 is 72. 2 times 6 is 12, times 3 is 36. And 4 times 5 is 20, times 3 is 60. Alright, so what they want you to do is they want you to figure out who would create the most volume. Alright? So let's look at this and figure out, okay, so my length is 6 here, but my width is 3, but I had a high volume here. Okay? So now what we would do is we would get out our graphing calculator and we'll just draw arrows here because we've already done this here. You can put volume as equal to length times width times height here, alright, because there's not a lot of work here. So then the next question is, have a group member record the values on the table. We don't have to do that. Now we're going to create a scatter plot of volume versus height using technology. Alright, so here's what I would do. And I'm going to kind of run through this with you really quickly. In order to do this, so on our graphing calculator, we would do new. We're going to add a list and spreadsheet. And we're going to go up here and we're going to label, it says to do a scatter plot of volume. So we'll do volume. Alright, versus height. Alright, so then we're going to come down here and our first volume is 40. And that height, or our next volume is 72. Our next volume is 36. And then we have 60. Then we'll go up here and we'll do our height. Was 2, 4, 3, and 3. Alright, so then we're going to hit menu. And we're going to do, sorry, I have a glare. Data. We'll do a quick graph. I need to remember that it told me to do volume versus height. And it wants to know what type of polynomial function could we use to model this data. Alright, so we've talked about polynomial functions here. This could be a cubic or a quadratic, but because I don't have a lot of data here, it's a little hard. We just don't quite have enough data to do it, to figure it out. So it says use the regression feature to find the function, the model, the data. Alright, so really what it's wanting to know is what would this look like as a function. So the nice thing about this calculator is it does that for us. So I'm going to go to menu. We're going to go to analyze. Number 6 is regression. And I want it to show, let's go show a linear function. function, or show it's hard for me to see here. We'll just hit show this way. Okay? So then, looking at this, let's do a couple of different ones here. So we said it could be quadratic. That doesn't really quite fit what we have, does it? So let's, wonder if we show cubic. Does that show cubic? Alright, so which one best fits? Now to be a best fit line, and I know that's kind of hard for you to see, but being the best fit line, what I want it to do is I want it to go through the most dots. Alright, so looking at my dots, that linear function didn't work. Alright, or I want the dots to be the closest. Alright, so here's my cubic function. Not too bad, but look at my quadratic function. It kind of hits every single one of those dots. So here's what I can do. I'm going to grab that and I want to bring it over and I want to see that my function is going to look like this. We'll do f of x is equal to negative 0.0000318 x cubed plus 0.055787x squared plus, or minus actually, 3.1097. So that would be the function. Now, we would not be expected to try to figure this out because we have that graphing calculator to help us. Alright? So it says find the maximum volume of the box. Alright? How would I figure out the maximum volume of the box? Well, I would have to look at this and I would have to see my, I gotta drop my point here. I would have to use my graphing calculator and I would have to figure out what the maximum value, the maximum point would be. Alright, so the way I do that is I do my menu. I want to analyze it. And I want to look at a graph trace. Okay? Now, what I need to do is I need to get rid of this, I need to only be tracing my cubic function here. Alright? So I would do that and I would figure out the highest volume that I could get. Alright, now remember, volume is your x-axis. So we want to do a graph trace of have too many graphs on, or too many lines on here. Because it's moving my whole entire thing. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to, give me just a second. I need to re-put this in here. Volume, height, because I need to not have so many things going on there. Height is 2, 4, 3, 3. Alright, so we'll go to menu. We'll do our data. We'll do our quick graph. Graph. We're doing volume versus height. Alright, and we're going to do a regression line. We've got a quadratic. No, our cubic was the one. Alright, so I've gotten rid of the other regression lines, that way we can see this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a menu, analyze, we're going to do a graph trace. Alright, and we want to know what is the biggest volume that I can get. Look what's happening here. The largest volume that I can get. What's the largest volume I can get? It's looking to be about 60. So it looks like, oh, we've got 72 over here. Let me keep going. So how would I figure out my largest? There's a way that you can get on here and you can graph this, and then you can do the largest volume. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to play with that. Get on Desmos and play with that. All right, and see what you can figure out to be our largest volume. All right. The whole point of this lesson is to just kind of introduce you to polynomials. All right. The whole point of this lesson is to show you what we can do with our graphing calculators. Now, like I said, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for us because, one, we're not in school, and two, being able to play with that graphing calculator. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at is like domain and range of our graphs and that kind of thing. I would suggest that you get on Desmos and play with it because you're going to have some work that will require you to, that will absolutely be a lot easier if you use that calculator. Guys, you have to show me work, okay? You cannot just get on the website and copy down the answers and expect me to take that. You need to show me your work. It is not going to do you any good if you do not have any idea what you are doing, okay? So please make sure you are getting on there, playing with Desmos, looking at what you can do with it, and then hopefully we can get back into school and we can use these calculators and really get into what these calculators can show us. All right, guys, have a great rest of your first week or rest of the week. Make sure you are taking your attendance daily.